Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, today I thought I'd share a little bit about the origins and the ancient origins of Halloween. So today's October 21st, 2016. It's about 10 days before Halloween, so pretty close. I was always curious. I never really looked into it too much. I don't think we really learned too much about it in school per se. How Halloween came, why it came into America. Our country is fairly new amongst all the other countries in the world, so how we got it. I went ahead and went on to history.com, and I'm just going to read a little bit of info on the ancient origins of Halloween. So, hope you guys enjoy. So, Halloween's origins date back to the ancient Celtic festival of Samhain, pronounced Samhain. Samhain. The Celts, who lived 2,000 years ago in the area that is now Ireland, the United Kingdom, and northern France, celebrated their new year on November 1st. This day marked the end of summer and the harvest and the beginning of the dark, cold winter, a time of year that was often associated with human death. Celts believed that on the night before the new year, the boundary between worlds of the living and the dead became blurred. On the night of October 31st, they celebrated Samhain when it was believed that the ghosts of the dead returned to the earth. In addition to causing trouble and damaging crops, Celts thought that the presence of the otherworldly spirits made it easier for the Druids or Celtic priests to make predictions about the future. For people entirely dependent on the volatile natural world, these prophecies were an important source of comfort and direction during the long, dark winter. To commemorate the event, Druids built huge sacred bonfires where the people gathered to burn crops and animals as sacrifices to the Celtic deities. During the celebration, the Celts wore costumes, typically consisting of animal heads and skins, and attempted to tell each other's fortunes. When the celebration was over, they relit their hearth fires, which they extinguished earlier that evening, from the sacred bonfire to help protect them during the coming winter. By 43 AD, the Roman Empire had conquered the majority of Celtic territory. The course of the 400 years that they ruled the Celtic lands, two festivals of Roman origin were combined with traditional Celtic celebrations of Samhain. The first was Feralia, a day in late October when Romans traditionally commemorated the passing of the dead. The second was a day to honor Pomona, the Roman goddess of fruit and trees. The symbol of Pomona is an apple, and the incorporation of this celebration into Samhain probably explains the tradition of bobbing for apples that is practiced today on Halloween. On May 13th, 609 AD, Pope Boniface IV dedicated the Pantheon in Rome in honor of all Christian matters, and the Catholic feast of All Matters Day was established in the Western Church. Pope Gregory III, 731 to 741, later expanded the festival to include all saints as well as martyrs, and moved the observance from May 13th to November 1st. By the ninth century, the influence of Christianity had spread into Celtic lands, where it gradually blended with and supplanted the older Celtic rites. In 1000 AD, the church would make November 2nd All Souls Day, a day to honor the dead. It is widely believed today that the church was attempting to replace the Celtic Festival of the Dead with a related but church sanctioned holiday. All Souls Day was celebrated similarly to Samhain with big bonfires, parades, and dressing up in costumes as saints, angels, and devils. The All Saint Day celebration was also called All Hallows or All Hallowmans from Middle English Al-Halomesi, meaning All Saints' Day. The night before, the traditional night of Samhain in the Celtic religion, began to be called All Hallows' Eve and eventually Halloween. So that's a little bit of the info of how Halloween became Halloween itself. And then it talks a little bit more about Halloween comes to America. So celebration of Halloween was extremely limited in colonial New England because of the rigid Protestant belief systems there. Halloween was much more common in Maryland and in the southern colonies. As the beliefs and customs of different European ethnic groups as well as American Indians meshed, a distinctly American version of Halloween began to emerge. The first celebrations included play parties, public events held to celebrate the harvest, where neighbors would share stories of the dead, tell each other's fortunes, dance, and sing. Colonial Halloween festivities also featured the telling of ghost stories and mischief making of all kinds. By the middle of the 19th century, annual autumn festivities were common, but Halloween was not yet celebrated everywhere in the country. In the second half of the 19th century, America was flooded with new immigrants. These new immigrants, especially the millions of Irish fleeing Ireland's potato famine of 1846, helped to popularize the celebration of Halloween's nationally. Taking from Irish and English traditions, Americans began to dress up in costumes and go to house asking for food or money, a practice that would eventually become today's trick or treat tradition. A young woman believed that on Halloween they could divine the name or appearance of their future husband by doing tricks with yarns, apple parings, or mirrors. In the late 1800s, there was a move in America to mold Halloween into a holiday more about community and neighborly get togethers than about ghosts, pranks, and witchcraft. At the turn of the century, Halloween parties for both children and adults became a most common way to celebrate the day. Parties focused on games, foods of the season, and festive costumes. Parents were encouraged by the newspapers and community leaders to take anything frightening or grotesque out of Halloween celebrations. Because of these efforts, Halloween lost most of its superstitious and religious overtones by the beginning of the 20th century. By the late 1920s and 30s, Halloween had become a secular but community centered holiday with parades and town wide parties as featured entertainment. Despite the best efforts of many schools and communities, vandalism began to plague Halloween celebrations in many communities during this time. By the 1950s, town leaders had successfully limited vandalism, and Halloween had evolved into a holiday directed mainly at the young. Due to the high numbers of young children during the 50s baby boom, parties moved from town civic centers into the classroom or home, where they could be more easily accommodated. Between 1920 and 1950, the centuries old practice of trick or treating was also revived. Trick or treating was a relatively inexpensive way for an entire community to share the Halloween celebration. In theory, families could also prevent tricks being played on them by providing the neighborhood Halloween children with small treats. A new American tradition was born, and it has continued to grow. Today, Americans spend an estimated $6 billion annually on Halloween, making it the country's second largest commercial holiday. And it also goes on to talk about today's Halloween traditions, Halloween superstitions, etc., etc., etc. So I hope you guys enjoyed a little bit of history about Halloween, where it came from, how it came to America, how it evolved. It was very interesting to me to learn about that, and I thought I'd share that with you guys. So hope you enjoy. See you guys later. Subscribe, like, comment, share. We'll see you on the next video.